This episode contains adult themes and is not appropriate for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, the world. This is They Will Kill, a true crime podcast. I'm Courtney Eck.
And I'm Sadie Eck.
And we're here to talk about some murder. And I don't know anything about the murder. I actually don't know one thing about this one. So I do think it's just like a good old-fashioned murder. We thought you could use a little palate cleanser after, Japanese war cannibals. So this one's a little bit more straightforward as far as I know. And I'm really excited to hear it. So take it away, Eck.
I will do that. Yeah, it was hard. You don't want to rank, all murder is really awful, so I'm not ranking this one less or more, but it's definitely less gruesome.
Less gruesome, maybe a little less cumbersome, if murder can be cumbersome.
Right. Yeah. Nobody eats anybody, so that's a good start.
Yeah. If you're here for the people eating, you're in the wrong place this week.
That's right. Tonight I'm going to tell you about the murder of Cara Knott. Cara Evelyn Knott was born February 11th, 1966, to her parents Sam and Joyce Knott. Cara was the third of 4 children. She had 2 older sisters, Cynthia and Cheryl, and a younger brother named John. Cara was described as your all-American girl. She was a Southern Californian to her core. And we'll post pictures of her, of course, but this is in the 80s. The story takes place in the mid-80s.
Oh, boy.
And she is exactly what I picture when I think of the Babysitter's Club books. Did you read those?
Oh, man. Who didn't read those? Remember when the one got when that one got diabetes? That's what I just killed you.
No. I didn't know. I was like, when that one died? I don't remember.
No,
that.
she got
diabetes.
She got not stage 3. What is it called? The different the manageable.
Type 2.
Yeah, type 2.
Type
Thank
2.
you.
Yeah.
She got the more manageable diabetes, and it was like,
oh God, yeah.
That's all I remember. So
That's
yes,
right.
I did read them.
Yeah, for our younger.
Of course,
listeners.
I latched on to the only awful thing that happened in any of those books.
So funny. I was looking back at old covers, and I think that the Babysitter's Club books are still around, and maybe, I don't know if they're as popular as they used to be, but the covers are totally different. So if you're a younger viewer and you're used to the old, they're cartoon covers now, go back and look at the 80s, 90s Babysitter Club's books, and you'll see what I mean.
Yep.
But the whole time I'm reading about Cara, that's what I'm thinking of. She was super smart, bubbly, vivacious, with a beautiful smile. Cara was described as, quote, tender-hearted. She was an artist, an animal lover, and a young woman who, quote, always had time for everybody.
Sweet.
She ran track at her high school. She worked summers at the San Diego Zoo. She hoped by working there she could try to save endangered animals.
Oh, my God.
This is so sweet. Oh, no. She wanted to become a teacher, marry her boyfriend, and have 4 children just like her mother.
So, yes, just the sweetest sweetie.
Mm-hmm.
Most all-American sweetie.
100%. The Knotts were a close family. Sam was known to be a little overprotective with his kids. He really loved them and wanted to be sure they were safe. They were expected to call if they were running late. It was his number 1 rule.
Mm-hmm.
Cara and her mother Joyce even took a self-defense class at Sam's urging. He wanted them to know how to protect themselves if they were ever attacked.
Well, and this is the 80s when parents were like, this German Shepherd's going to watch you tonight. Like,
Right.
That was not, there was stranger danger for sure, but it was just not the top priority for most parents to be that protective.
Yep. So 2 nights after Christmas in 1986, Cara called her parents to let them know she was on her way home. She had been taking care of her boyfriend, Wayne, who had the flu, and she had missed Christmas with her family to help him.
What? How old was she?
She was 20.
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
Picturing
sorry.
a teenager. It's like,
no,
that's
she's
not
20.
That doesn't. Okay, that makes sense.
She wanted to see her parents and siblings and decided that Wayne would be okay on his own for one night. The family was excited to see her. Christmas just wasn't the same without her. They decided to start a movie while they waited for Cara to arrive and realized after it had ended that she wasn't home yet. It would have taken her about an hour to get home, and 2 hours had already passed.
Uh-oh.
They called Wayne to see if she got a later start than planned, but he told them that she'd left at 8:30 right after getting off the phone with her family. Cara's parents knew something was wrong right away. It was not like their daughter to deviate from the plan without letting them know first.
Mm-hmm.
They split up and drove the route between their house and Wayne's, hoping to find Cara and her white VW Bug.
Of course, she drove a white VW Bug.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly
The old ones, too.
Oh, my God.
Really cool one.
Oh, buddy.
Even Wayne, who was still very sick, joined the search. Growing more and more worried by the minute, Cara's dad flagged down a highway patrol officer and urged him to put an owl points alert out for his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
He was told that nothing could be done until she had been missing for at least 24 hours. So additional pleas for help to police proved futile. To one of Sam's desperate calls, a dispatcher replied casually, quote, "Girls will be girls."
Uh-oh.
After spending the night looking for her, Cara's oldest sister, Cynthia, and her husband, Bill, pulled off I-15 at the Mercy Road exit. They drove around the desolate area and saw nothing but scrub, grass, weeds, and garbage. It gave them the creeps. Bill noticed some barriers set up to block vehicles from a bike path and decided to explore beyond the barriers. There was just enough space between the posts to drive his car through. They didn't have to drive far before they found Cara's car.
Oh, God.
Her purse was inside, the keys were in the ignition, and the driver's side window was rolled partly down, but Cara was nowhere to be found. They called the police, and then they called Cara's parents. Soon, everyone was there to search the area. One of the police officers on scene walked down a bike path. When he reached a bridge on the path, he looked down into a gully 65 feet below, where he saw the body of 20-year-old Cara Knott.
Oh, no.
She was dressed in purple sweatpants and her favorite pair of white leather boots. Her family, who were still at the scene, were devastated by the discovery and were furious with police for not taking their requests for help earlier in the night more seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Authorities scoured the area for evidence of the crime scene. They found a set of distinct, extra-wide tire tracks in the area. They took fingerprints from her car and picked up tiny fiber samples from Cara's clothing. An autopsy later showed that Cara had been strangled and her skull was crushed with a heavy object.
Jesus.
There was no sign of a struggle and no evidence that Cara had been sexually assaulted or robbed.
How weird.
At first, everyone was a suspect. They looked into Cara's boyfriend, Wayne, but quickly ruled him out when his sister was able to corroborate his alibi that he was at home and very sick during the time when Cara was murdered. Wayne's father, his name was Jamie, quickly moved to the top of the list after detectives noticed that he was unusually distraught at Cara's funeral. They also knew that Jamie had been the last person to speak to Cara on the phone the night of her murder. Cara worked for Jamie at his health food store and was known to have a, quote, eye for the women.
Uh-oh.
A tip came in that a gold Cadillac with a blonde passenger, quote, hanging over the seat, had been seen in the area of Mercy Road that night. Jamie happened to drive a gold Cadillac. The detectives were certain that they had their suspect, but once Jamie caught wind that he was on their radar, he provided them with phone records that proved he was over an hour away during the time of Cara's murder. Rumors spread that this was the work of the Green River Killer, who was very active at this time in Washington State. So we're in California, but
Right.
not too far from
Nope.
Washington State.
And he traveled quite a bit, didn't he?
I think so.
Yeah. Up and down the Highway 5 or something, right?
People who had been driving down Highway I-15 at the time of the murder came forward and told police about a strange hitchhiker near Mercy Road who was waving money at cars trying to get them to stop. Police tracked down every lead, no matter how strange or unlikely it seemed. The media ran off with the story. It was the top headline in the newspapers and was featured in the evening news. A local television reporter decided to use the murder as a springboard for a story on highway safety. She called the California Highway Patrol and asked if she and her cameraman could ride along with an officer on patrol and interview him on ways women can stay safe while driving alone on highways at night. They were happy to accommodate and sent her to a patrolman named Craig Peyer, who was their expert on highway safety. 2 days after Cara's murder, the segment aired on the evening news. Officer Peyer drove his patrol car while being interviewed. He would take time to look into the camera, comfortable as could be, offering sage advice to women about staying safe when confronted by a stranger on the highway. During the segment, he said, quote, "You never know whom you may meet along the road. Anything could happen. Being a female, you could be raped, robbed if you're a male, all the way to where you could be killed. Once you get into the other person's car, you're at their mercy."
You sound like you know an awful lot about this, Officer Peyer. My hackles are up.
Mm-hmm. The reporter couldn't help but notice the policeman's face had scratches on it.
Oh, boy.
Just after the broadcast, nearly 24 telephone calls, mostly from women, were received by the authorities. The callers said that Peyer had pulled them over on the same off-ramp where Cara was found.
No. Get him, ladies. Fuck this guy.
Yeah. They said he was friendly with them, but he made them uncomfortable. In some cases, he even went so far as to gently stroke their hair and shoulders and would detain them.
Oh, I'm just... Ugh.
From anywhere between 30 minutes to 2 hours.
Oh, why is it so much scarier when people do nice things in a scary way? You know what I mean?
Well, it's not nice.
I mean, like a gentle thing is like...
Yeah. It's just so foreboding.
Oh, it's so foreboding. It's so
And you don't know where it's headed. And you don't know...
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not... Yeah, turning a nice touch into a terrible touch. I don't like that at all. No. When looking into these calls, detectives found there had been complaints about him before the murder by several women, but they were dismissed because his reputation within the department. Of course. And there is footage. You can see the footage of the interview with him for the segment. Mm-hmm. You can't see the scratches real well. I mean, I can't really see them. I couldn't see them at all, but... Right. The footage is still there. It's pretty creepy. So Craig Peyer was a Vietnam veteran, a father of 2 and a 13-year California Highway Patrol veteran. He had a perfect record. He was known by many as a stand-up guy. He took his job very seriously on the force, and he was known as a, quote, hot pencil, issuing as many as 250 traffic citations a month. It took me a minute to catch up with that. I know. I guess that's like a thing. A lot of the articles sense.
Hot pencil. Hot pencil.
Oh, God. So many comments about keeping myself.
Yeah. He was known to say, quote, "There are 2 people you don't piss off in this world, God and a highway patrolman." Not necessarily in that order. Creep. God, that's so chilling. Mm-hmm. He had patrolled the area around Mercy Road since 1982, and after Cara's body was found, one colleague teased, quote, "What happened, Craig? Did you choke her for not signing a ticket?" Oh, no. None of his fellow officers seriously considered Peyer as a suspect. He always greeted people with a sincere smile and a willingness to chat. There was another side to Peyer that only his intimate partners knew of. He had been married 3 times. His first wife told stories of him making her polish his police badge every night after work, and said he would openly flirt with women in front of her. If she confronted him about this, he would get violent with her. His second wife would tell you a similar story, but this time she said he constantly stalked her after their divorce. He met his third wife, Karen, in 1984 when she was a young stay-at-home mother who moved in next door to him. Months later, both divorced their spouses and married each other. Oh, boy. Karen, who gave birth to the couple's daughter just 6 months before Cara's death, must have noticed the scratches on Peyer's face when he came home from his shift on December 28th. If she asked him about them, he probably told her the same story he wrote on his injury report at work, that he'd slipped on some gasoline when he was filling his tank at the station and fell face first into a chain-link fence. I would just be like, I ran into some kids and they scratched me and getting away. Like, it's such an elaborate, whoa. Right. Our dear Megan, who's been reading these stories, her comment on that was, "Has never happened in the history of gas chain link fences." Exactly right. Oh, God. What an idiot. So as the complaints came into the station, CHP Sergeant John McDonald said his hackles were raised and the pieces started to fall into place. Mm-hmm. As detectives started looking into Peyer's movements the days surrounding the crime, they found more damning evidence against him. They searched his patrol car, which was immaculately clean. When looking in the trunk, they found a length of yellow nylon rope under the spare tire.
Oof.
A forensic dentist examined the rope and determined it seemed to match the rope marks around Cara's neck. The tire tracks found at the scene were a perfect match to Peyer's patrol car. Mm-hmm. There is a forensic files on this case, and I'm just sort of laughing to myself when I was watching it, how, you know how forensic files is.
Yeah.
It's so formulaic.
Yes, and I love it.
So there's the forensic odontologist and the
Yep.
fiber expert, and so we're gonna hit all of the hot ticket items on
Heck
forensic
yeah.
files.
Well, I was like, this just sounds like the perfect textbook crime. Mm-hmm. Rope fibers, tire tracks,
Right?
blood spatter. Yeah.
Here we go. I got another one for you.
Lay it on me.
A distinctive and unusual gold rayon fiber, found to have been made using a yellow pigment instead of a dye, was found on Cara's clothing. It matched a shoulder patch that Peyer wore on his CHP uniform. Mm-hmm. They also found purple fibers on Peyer's clothes that matched the sweatpants Cara had been wearing the night of her murder.
Yeah, gotcha, Peyer.
A drop of blood was found on one of Cara's boots, which was found to be consistent with Peyer's blood type, which was AB negative and the rarest one. Conclusive DNA testing was not available at the time of the investigation. Mm-hmm. When investigators looked into Peyer's logbook the night of the murder, it showed a ticket where he wrote 9:20 p.m. on top of a scratched out 10:30 p.m.
So this guy left he didn't clean up the scene really at all, and then just lazily scratched out a time and put another time over it. Mm-hmm. He wasn't trying very hard to not get caught for this, or obviously maybe a little. Anyway, I won't speculate too much, but he sounds like a cocky bastard. Mm-hmm.
Yep. When asked, the driver who received the ticket said that Peyer changed the time on his ticket 3 times before settling on 9:20 p.m.
Man, didn't even hide it from the driver.
Mm-mm. The driver remembers being pulled over at 10:30 p.m.
Wow.
Based on the autopsy and the last time Cara was seen, her time of death was estimated to be between 9 and 10 p.m.
Wow.
A witness came forward and said that he saw a patrol car accompanying a Volkswagen Beetle in the exact area at about the same time the murder was known to have occurred. Mm-hmm. Cara was last seen alive at a Chevron gas station, getting gas just 2 miles away from the murder scene. The attendant remembered seeing a marked CHP patrol car making a U-turn on the road just after Cara had driven away.
Oh, creepy.
Mm-hmm. Peyer's fellow officers told detectives of his strange actions following the murder. He continuously asked about the investigation status, and he made multiple attempts to justify the perpetrator's crime as a mistake. An internal investigation showed that while he stopped many drivers for various legitimate violations, most of them were females who were driving alone. They were of the same age group and physical description as Cara. At one point, he even went so far as to bring a rookie cop to the Mercy Road exit to show her the ropes. While there, he commented that if a person happened to have killed someone, it would be the perfect place to dump a body.
God. Mm-hmm. And then, oh man, this guy, he's just
there's multiple stories of him pulling over people, like a man who has long blonde hair, and as soon as he pulls them over and got to the car and saw that it was a man, he just let him go. Or pulling over women, like one woman he pulled over and her passenger was a man laying down, like sleeping in the passenger seat.
Wow.
And when the man showed himself, then he'd let them go. It's
like when your kid shows up and like their face is covered in peanut butter and you're like, did you eat the peanut butter? And they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. That's what this reminds me of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Be more obvious, dude.
Right. When investigators looked into the cause of the scratches on Peyer's face, like we'd already talked about, he said that he slipped on a gas spill while putting gas in his patrol car and then fell into a chain link fence.
Yep.
An attendant working that night said that Peyer did stop to get gas that night and seemed, quote, nervous, disheveled, and had scratches on his face. Mm. She described the scratches as looking red and new. She also claimed that he told her he had a, quote, terrible night And then he took out his nightstick from the trunk of his patrol car and cleaned it off with a rag.
Oh, no. You gotta be kidding me.
No.
Oh, man. And then he took out a young woman's purse and emptied the contents onto the countertop, and she glimpsed the victim's identification at that moment.
I mean, it just seems like he was so sure of himself that he didn't give any fucks. He was like, nobody's ever going to pinpoint me for this murder.
Seriously. And it's like almost a hiding in plain sight sort of. Just be so open about it. Maybe no one will notice. I don't know. Again, it's like being a little kid and like, if I can't see you, you can't see me kind of a thing. I don't know, man. That's baffling.
So on January 17th, 1987, less than a month after Cara's body was found, Craig Peyer was arrested for her murder. His bond was set at $1 million. Friends and family mortgaged their homes and sold valuable property to help raise the minimum $100,000 cash needed for him to get out of jail while awaiting trial.
Wow.
Peyer's wife said to news reporters after his arrest, quote, "Craig is not the monster these charges make him out to be. He is the most loving, affectionate, and concerned human being I've ever known."
Nope. You don't know him.
No. The murder trial began in May 1987. The prosecution started by calling many witnesses who had been pulled over and detained by Peyer. Quote, "He just seemed like a lonely guy bored with his shift," says one young woman who Peyer had stopped several months before Cara's death. "He leaned against my car, just making chit-chat, asking me lots of questions about myself. The most flirtatious thing he said was, 'Oh, what small feet you have.'
Oh, no.
I think he liked pulling over young women and being the authority figure. He was a gentleman, but the longer he kept me down there, the more nervous I got."
Oh, my God.
Another witness said Peyer had stopped her on Halloween night in 1986 because of a dim headlight. Quote, "He was a really nice guy," she says. "He checked my lights and my oil, so I asked him if he did windshields. He was a professional and didn't crack a smile. When Peyer discovered that she had no oil, she gladly left her car and accepted his offer of a ride home."
Oh, boy.
Another witness called by the prosecution was a San Diego police patrol officer who said that 4 days after Cara's murder, she had met Peyer when he called for backup, and he had quizzed her intensely about Cara's investigation. Quote, "When I said I thought the body had been dumped from the west side of the bridge, he said no, she was put on the east side. When we talked about the rumor that Knott had been bitten off a part of her attacker's ear, he grabbed his ears and said, 'Well, I've got both of mine.'"
I just...
She went on, "He struck me as sophomoric and juvenile." She also said that Peyer lost his temper when she wished the murderer a slow and painful death. Quote, "He said, 'You don't know what you're talking about. It could have been an accident. Maybe it just went too far.'"
I've said this before, but I wish that all cases were this obvious, like this clear, but it is always so confounding when they actually are, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know where that comes from in people.
Arrogance, I really think. Or stupidity, but well, I think in this case, it's pure arrogance. He thought he was hot shit and that nobody would ever touch him.
Yeah, a lethal combination of both of those things, but it's just, I don't know, man.
So Peyer's defense attorney likened the circumstantial evidence in the case to a jigsaw puzzle containing hundreds of pieces that simply couldn't be made to fit. He reminded
the opposite analogy that I would use.
He reminded jurors that Peyer had been a model officer, and he challenged the reliability of the state's techniques for analyzing blood and fiber. He also introduced 4 witnesses who had seen a scruffy hitchhiker waving cash and lunging at cars on the freeway entry ramp that Cara would have taken that night. He pointed out that Cara's car was discovered a half mile from the location that Peyer used to stop motorists. So he's saying that it was a half mile away from where he usually would pull people over, so it couldn't have been the same.
They're like, what do we have to go on here?
Right.
It's like, well, I usually stop him right there and then points to a distance that you can see from where you're standing. Right. It says, but how
got
could
a 1,500 yard or foot difference here. People.
How could I have made it all the way over there?
Right.
Couldn't have been me. It's impossible.
Yep. And the lawyer also noted that there were 6 fingerprints lifted from the car that had not been identified. So, after 7 days of deliberations, the jury came back deadlocked.
Really?
Yep, they came back deadlocked. They were split 7-5. 7 thought that he was guilty, 5 did not.
Oh my God.
They could not come to an agreement. The judge declared a mistrial.
Holy shit. I'm so sick to my stomach. If that's not the most 80s thing you've ever heard in your life.
Yeah. Well, I think we see it a lot today even, not this is a little different in some ways, but cops, I think it's hard to convict cops.
That's a very excellent point. It's not an 80s thing. It is very much a current thing.
Yeah. After choosing a new prosecutor for the case, Peyer was brought to trial again. The new attorney approached the case from a different angle and worked very hard to have defense evidence banned from this new trial.
The 1,500-yard evidence that they had.
Yep. He started by getting the mention of the hitchhiker band. This person was not a suspect, was never interrogated, or even seen by the police. He also managed to block defense witness testimony that Peyer had actually scratched his face on the chain link fence.
Good.
In the first trial, the defense skillfully used these witnesses to cast a shadow of doubt in the jurors' minds. Mm-hmm. It turns out the witnesses were only repeating what Peyer had told them. None of them had actually seen him fall on the chain link fence.
Uh-huh.
With these wins in the judge's chamber, the prosecution easily won the second trial. Peyer was found guilty of first-degree murder and was sentenced to 25 years to life.
Good.
After the trial, Cara's mom, Joyce, said, quote, "In our minds, he doesn't even exist. We think of Cara and what was done to her and what she had done to protect herself, but we can't just focus on him."
Yeah.
Peyer appealed his conviction, citing a wide range of allegations that included prosecutorial misconduct and tainted physical evidence that crucially linked the cop to Cara in the pre-DNA days of 1987.
Mm-hmm.
His appeal was rejected in 2001.
Good.
Peyer had the chance to prove his innocence in 2004 when the DA requested his DNA for the Innocence Project. He declined to provide a sample and refused to explain why.
Oh, shocking.
Mm-hmm. He has been up for parole 3 times. Each time it has been denied. At his parole hearing in 2004, Commissioner Donna Henderson McBean told Peyer, quote, "For you to sit there, deny the crime, deny you have anything to work on, I find incredible." She lambasted Peyer for ignoring repeated prison orders to enroll in a mental health program for anger management and overall therapy.
Good for her.
Yeah. In response, he proudly told the board that he'd signed up for a self-help course titled...
Oh, boy.
I kind of want you to guess. Self-help in the late 80s, early 90s, early 2000s. Very popular.
Susan Powder or whatever her name was.
Men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
No! What was it? Stop the Madness. Was that her book?
I don't know.
Break free from the madness.
Mm-hmm. Nope, this one.
What?
Yep, so he doesn't need therapy. He had...
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like pre-love languages, if anybody doesn't know. It has nothing to do with not murdering innocent women. It's about how to, like, be a better partner. Mm-hmm. And was it kind of misogynistic?
I was going to say, and very sexist.
Yeah.
It's a terrible book.
So, yeah, he's not resolving any issues with that. He's probably just exacerbating his...
it's crazy ego.
Crazy ego.
Yep. As McBean talked, Peyer remained impassive, but he dug his fingers deep into his palm so that it nearly bled.
I bet.
He won't be eligible for another chance at parole until 2027. He will be 77 years old.
Good riddance.
Yep. In death, Cara became a symbol for victims' rights. The cause was led by her father, Sam, whose determination would start scholarships in Cara's name, change laws, and police policies. He sued the state for allowing a dangerous cop to work in the department and won $2.7 million.
Holy shit. Good for him.
Yeah.
Man.
Another one of Sam's victories was turning the bleak land where Cara was murdered into a flourishing nature preserve dedicated to Cara and fellow crime victims.
That's amazing.
Sam grew native oak saplings from acorns he took from Cara's favorite tree on their property.
Oh, man.
And he planted the trees off Mercy Road, and they've grown into a beautiful forest.
What a beautiful thing to do.
I know. On November 30th, 2000, while attending a memorial at the spot where Cara's body was found, Sam very sadly died of a heart attack.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I know. Quote, "The pain of Cara's murder never left him," said District Attorney Paul Pfingst. "His every act, every day, took him back to Cara. In 25 years in this business, I've never seen anyone like Sam Knott."
Oh, man. What a sweetie. How awful.
Oh, so awful. I mean, it's just like one of those, he literally died of a broken heart.
Yeah. Which is like weirdly sort of beautiful, but
Yeah,
so sad.
Cara's mom, Joyce, has done her best to live with a heartache that comes with losing her daughter and husband. I know. She still planted acorns for Cara and Sam for many years after her husband died. She finally decided to redecorate Cara's room 20 years after her death.
Oh, man.
Quote, "which takes some courage," she said. And she had the wallpaper pulled off. Underneath was a pleasant surprise. Drawings of flowers. Words, too, starting with, quote, "My name is Cara Evelyn Knott. I am 14 years old."
Oh, my God. That's going to make me
I
cry.
know. I know. "I appreciate the fact that people remember her," Joyce said. "She's always with us."
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And there you go, you guys.
Oh, Cara. Oh, Sam and Evelyn.
I know. No, Joyce.
Oh, Joyce and Evelyn.
No, Evelyn is Cara's middle name.
Oh, everybody.
I know. I know.
Oh, man, that is so sad.
Yeah.
It's also, all I could picture when I was hearing it was just like every 80s movie with every creepy bullshit cop. It's,
Yes.
you know, it's something that I feel sort of removed from at this point in my life, like this age and where I live and what I, it's been a while since I felt that sort of feeling of like helplessness or intense misogyny or, just that thing. It was so prevalent in the 80s and 90s. It was much more a part of just like your everyday life and boys will be boys and boys clubs and all that bullshit. And whenever it comes up in true crime, like the Claire Tampongo case, I have a full body visceral reaction to it. It's so upsetting to me and so awful. I mean, most people that perpetrate these crimes have this ego, like there's something in them that's driving them. They have no regard for human life. They're not thinking, they're not, taking the time to appreciate the life that they have in their hands. But that guy makes it really hard to breathe. He makes me so mad. It's so gross. It's awful. Yep. It's just the worst part of humanity, in my opinion, and the least interesting part of humanity,
Yeah.
It's like a total waste of a human body, in my opinion.
Right. And I think about, he never admitted to the murder and still says he's innocent. So we don't know exactly what happened, but I can just picture he was doing his creepy pullover, shoulder stroking or whatever, and Cara wasn't going to have any of it and fought back, and he got so angry that she would
absolutely
dare to
defy
put up a
him.
fight.
Yeah, yeah.
That it was a fit of rage. He murdered her. Yeah.
So awful.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm sad for them, and fuck that guy. There's really nothing I mean, I am always struck at the families of the victims and how hard they work on the other side of their tragedies to make the world a better place, and that will never not floor me.
I know.
I mean, I can understand that once you suffer loss that deep and you have to process your grief, your options are, do really, really bad things or do really, really good things. And I'm so glad that so much of humanity chooses to do really, really good things, because it's just beautiful. And
Yeah,
there's
it really is.
real ripple effect of positivity that comes from something so awful if you choose to turn in that direction. So I applaud anyone who has been through something like that and can even get out of bed, let alone plant oak tree preserves and set up scholarships. So
Yep.
amazing. Good job, man.
Thanks. Yeah, it was, yep, that's all. That's all I got to say about it.
No, and also unlike our boy Tony Aiello, where you're like, wait, did he? God, it's the evidence is so maddening and the case is so maddening. This guy, everyone can sleep tight tonight knowing that piece of shit definitely killed that poor girl. There's no question in anybody's minds, and that's,
It was interesting to read through the newspaper archives of the case. There was a lot out there, but for a long time they were, a lot of the media was sort of sympathetic to
of course
Peyer.
Yep.
And a lot of interviews with his wife and all this "woe is me," and
Yeah.
there was even one article I found that like a year after the murder the trial, what's life been like for him in
oh God,
prison? Like, who even gives two shits? Because I sure don't. But
disgusting.
all of that stopped after he refused to give his DNA. Like, there's no more sympathy for this monster. Like, clearly, there's one reason why you wouldn't give your DNA. So I'm glad he answered the question. If not that there was any question anyway, but he made it abundantly clear that he is completely guilty of this crime.
Yeah, I put that right to bed. And it's like, how many thousands of cases did the Innocence Project have lined up? And then for them to approach him and him to be like, nah, I'm good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy.
Yep.
I don't know. That sympathizing with the perpetrator. I was listening to the most recent case file episode about Lee.
Oh, yes.
And I had to turn it off. I love case file. It's my top 2 all time, like tied with whatever else. Right now it's Invisible Choir, but whatever's my top favorite, it's always case file and something else. And I had to turn it off because I just couldn't listen to the abuse that the victim's family was taking any longer.
That one was really brutal.
It's so hard to listen to, and this is a really good example of that too. It's just so gross and awful. I have not one iota of my being can handle that part of society and humanity. So,
nope.
Yucko.
Yucko.
Good job.
Yeah.
Thank you. What?
Thank you. I was going to say, what's not yucko? Our listeners.
Hey, you guys, did you know that we love you? Do you know that we really, really love you? Because we still do. We continue to really, really love you.
We really love you.
The opposite of yucko.
Yep. And there's one listener in particular that we want to give a shout out to.
Yes.
Courtney.
Oh, I was like, who is it? VR. VEER. She's our newest Patreon supporter. She's also, I'm pretty sure, one of our favorite Instagram followers. There's a little cult of you on Instagram that we just love to absolute pieces. You guys have our backs so hard. You know who you are. If you want a shout out, send me a message. I'm happy to shout you out.
Like 2 hours of shout outs.
I know. But God, you guys, you're just so sweet and so supportive and so, I don't know, you just really have our backs and are really spreading the word, and we can see it all over the place. And we really, 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 really appreciate it. Patreon gifts and goodies are going to start to go out soon. We got the lollipops today, and they're so freaking cute. Just waiting on some pins. And again, as soon as we get the pins, we're going to do a proper announcement of the Patreon, and we'll set a time limit, probably like the first month or so. If you sign up, you're going to get a enamel pin of our logo that are really cool. One thing, I think I mentioned this last time, and I did put some clarification on our Patreon, but because we're releasing all of our episodes for free right now, you won't see as much free content on Patreon. So if you're signing up now, you're kind of signing up out of the goodness of your heart. You will get presents, but the episodes aren't going to come out just yet. But we are working really hard, actually, to put up some additional content. So there will be at least, a couple a month just for Patreon supporters so that you get a little extra because you absolutely deserve it.
Yeah, it's been incredible. I really don't know how to explain it, but I'm so glad that you're enjoying the show, and because we really love doing it. I've said it 1,000 times, but
yeah, we really, really, really love doing it, and we want to do it forever. And it's expensive. It's getting expensive.
Help us.
Yeah, it's not unsustainable, but Patreon's very helpful. We want to do this long term, and to be able to do that, we will need your support. So thank you for giving it.
Yep.
I also want to read a couple reviews. I promised last time that we will start doing that because we really appreciate them, and this is a major part of how we continue to do this long term. So I'll just read a couple every time, so you get your names out of our mouth, like I promised. Get your names out of our mouth.
Better never get back in there.
I know. I actually did tell somebody once to keep their name out of my name out of their mouth. It was in a professional capacity. It was very dramatic. It worked. They did keep it out of their mouth. Anyway, in a nice way, I'm going to put your names out of my mouth, starting with Tamo Bro 13TB. I like it.
Yeah.
It says, yes, ladies. Thankfully got a follow on Instagram from this podcast and desperately was looking for a new crime podcast. Instant fan. Love it and can't wait to keep listening. We can't wait for you to keep listening. Cells and chips. God, there's nothing I love more than chips, so I approve of that name. Salsa and chips. That's what it says. Salsa and chips. CELSA. Instant fan. I really love true crime podcasts, but this one is an instant classic, which is the nicest compliment you can give to a podcast. I really gravitate toward the host's conversational style. I also really like the various cases they profile in each episode. Thank you very much.
That's so sweet.
So sweet. Sassy Sisters by Nick McD. Speaking of sassy Nick McD, Sadie and Courtney bring their own unique personalities to the age-old tradition of true crime podcasting. Their wit and humor balance out the nature and material, and somehow I feel like less of a jerk for laughing at inappropriate times. In parentheses, unnecessary levity. Thanks for creating another binge-worthy treat for me. You are welcome. I love chips and treats. Okay, two more. One, this is from Godoy Mate. And Godoy, she's one of our Instagram cult members. We love you. You're a very good fan. Like sitting and having a chat. I only know that because that's her last name. So anybody who's in the cult that I don't know that you're in the cult that I read your review, don't take it personally. It's just because I don't recognize your name. I love this format. The ladies are hilarious. Love the peanut gallery commentary. Feels like sitting around with friends and talking about crazy true crime cases over cocktails. And I'm about to have I can't drink and podcast, but I'm about to. So cheers. One more. This is from AGSLL. It says love. Just such a just love.
Love.
Who knew I could love murder so much? I did. These sisters do a wonderful job of storytelling and entertaining while still honoring the victims. I love it. And I love you. AGSLL. One more businesses. I realized in our rush to stop talking about murder cannibals, war cannibals last time, I forgot to mention that our Oma, our mom's mom she was a Air Force nurse and traveled all over the place. We have this amazing photo of her sitting on the wing of an airplane, and the side of the airplane says, canned heat.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. So I'll post that on Instagram this week too, because she's fucking amazing and she's a huge inspiration. So anything else?
I just saw that I Survived has a podcast out now.
What? Wait, excuse me?
I know. I was looking around, looking at murder stuff like you do. So I'm going to start listening to that like right away.
Oh my God. I love that show so much. It's too scary almost for me, though.
So scary.
It's like Invisible Choir scary where.
Yeah. Got to take breaks. I
Yeah.
know. Yeah. It's one of the true crime shows that I really would have to turn off and like walk away from because I got too scared. So
yeah, same.
It might be even more intense just in your head, not visually, like seeing it.
Seriously.
We'll
Did I ever tell you that I met
I'll report
somebody?
back.
I met somebody that was on I Survived. Mm-hmm. And now she's a assistant superintendent of a prison. And she's fucking awesome. And she actually, quick retelling of the story, she was attacked. She was, I think, 16. She was jogging. She was attacked. I don't think she was like raped or assaulted, if I remember correctly. But she was blindfolded and like was being taken to be assaulted or raped and probably murdered. And she could see out of the bottom of her blindfold, and the man set the knife down for a second, and she grabbed it and she stabbed him a few times. Jesus. And she got away, and he got arrested.
Wow.
And then fast forward, she became a police officer, and she was booking new inmates into a prison from a transfer. And she looks up, and he's standing there. And this was not on this episode. And he just broke down, and he was like, I am so sorry. And he was like, I was hopped up on every drug on the planet. It was the worst time in my life. And he said, and I'm so sorry I put you through that. But honestly, getting put in jail saved my life. It was the best thing that could have happened to me. And she's like, I hugged him and we reconciled. Yeah.
That's
like,
so crazy.
Isn't that crazy? She said it was the most cathartic possible experience. Not that perpetrators deserve your,
no,
that,
right.
but
Yes,
for her, if it is something that is positive for you as the victim, which it was for her, it was pretty freaking badass. And now she's working in this prison, and she's doing all these rehabilitative programs, and the prison has grows lettuce on the roof in their solar garden, and on and on and on. Amazing. So, and I met her at a Tommy Bahama bar in Naples, Florida. I really wanted guacamole. I know, I really wanted guacamole. So I made Laura walk to Tommy Bahama with me.
So funny.
Yeah. And then we had this amazing interaction with this woman who came and sat next to us. Yep. And bought us margaritas. Yep. So
just an insight into Courtney and I's different personalities. She's the type that if somebody sits next to her at the bar, they'll be like best friends and crying by the end. If somebody sits by me, I'm just like, I just can't do it. And it isn't because I don't like people, but I don't have a personality.
You're a very likable person, incredibly likable person.
Yeah, but if you're a stranger at a bar and I'm there hanging with my friends, I don't know.
I know. Sadie gives you this really nervous giggle, and now I'm realizing it comes out when you're uncomfortable socially too. It's like if you're talking about something really awful and murderous, or you're in a socially awkward situation, someone will start talking to you and be like, "Hi, hi," and very politely with your Cancerian, she's a Cancer energy, just like shut the back off. I'm trying to hang out with my girls.
But anyway,
that's why we work well together.
That's right.
And we love you guys. And to remember,
you can find us at all the places.
Oh shit, right. You can join our Instagram cult or Facebook cult or Twitter that does not remotely a cult at They Will Kill. You can email us at theywillkillpodcast@gmail.com. Check out our website, theywillkill.com. Thank you.
Rate, review, subscribe.
Yep.
Mostly just listen to us, please. Thank you, AJ Bergantz, for our music.
Thank you so much.
The paperwork for the lawsuit in the mail.
Sadie, you're going to get deposed for the lawsuit.
No way, I'm on his side.
You're like, did Courtney, in fact, hum a melody on episode 17?
Oh, God. Oh, and that's the other thing. This is episode 20.
Oh.
I can't believe it. I know. Yeah,
that's the 20. Popper. Yep. Champagne, whatever. That's
all right. We should let these people stop listening.
Nope, right? You're ours now. You belong to us. And remember...
my stomach just grumbled. And remember, go eat a nice snack. Maybe some tater tots.
Yeah.
Maybe some chips and guacamole.
I got a Cobb salad lined up. Ooh. It's all chopped. Mm-hmm. I got Sarah, our best friend, has an organic farm, Rainfield Farms. I got some eggs and greens from her, and I chopped up some celery. And I don't eat meat, but Laura, my wife, does, and so I made some bacon, and I put the bacon on top of the celery so the juices will get on the celery, make it taste better.
So smart. And remember, guys, put the bacon on
Put the bacon on the celery. Bacon flavored celery. Everybody wins.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. I love you. Goodbye.